All right, let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. I'm so glad to be back, genuinely to be back. Sorry about last night. It's just one of those things where, sometimes you just run into conflicts, as with everybody. Everybody's got lives outside of football, outside of work, outside of whatever, and had to take care of a few things. But we're back now for tonight's live stream, and hopefully we should have 2 next week. Just heaven forbid anything happens, but you just never know. You never know when different things pop up and other commitments, and just it's complicated. It's complicated stuff. But what's not going to be complicated is this show tonight. We are pumped to be back talking college football with you guys on Wacky Wednesday. Of course, bringing out the banana shirt per the request of many of you. You guys wanted it, so we're going to deliver. We're definitely going to deliver since we missed out on yesterday. So we've got a lot to discuss. Probably no calls tonight because we have so much to discuss. We want to get to our potential upsets, right? It's Wacky Upset Wednesday, so we want to get to that. We want to talk about the playoff rankings, which came out last night. We did not get to discuss with you. We want to take a look at what a 12-team playoff would look like. And we will be previewing that later on in the show tonight as well. So along with, of course, taking all your questions and your comments from the chat that kind of, again, fuel these live streams. So again, we're so glad to see you, whether you're watching with us now, whether you're watching with us 20 minutes from now, whether you don't watch this thing until tomorrow. We are so glad you're here and a part of our GE Nation. As always, guys, like this live stream. Go down there, hit the like button. We would really, really appreciate that. It boosts our analytics and helps more people find the channel. Comment, subscribe if you haven't already. We would love for you guys to continue to help us build the brand. Build the channel. That's our ultimate goal, just to keep building, keep growing, and sharing the love of college football with you guys who clearly love college football. So major shout-outs real quick as we get started. Scotty B, the Baylor King. Good to see you, man. Blackout this Saturday at McLean Stadium as Baylor takes on Kansas State. Really excited for that one. We obviously predicted Baylor to win that game. The Bears slightly favored over Kansas State. Very excited for that one. Logan Elliott, good to see you. West Virginia, rough loss against Iowa State. The road does not get much easier going forward. Big game against Oklahoma, though, this weekend. Robert Sharpton, good to see you. Mark TR, good to see you, my man. Miami in a rough spot as well. Better days are ahead, my friend. Better days are ahead. It just takes time sometimes with a new coach, but they're going to get there. You know it. I know it. They're coming back. They're coming back in time. But Mark, good to see you, man. I really appreciate you and all your support. SBO Kennels, salute to the Gridiron Nation. Yes, sir. Happy to see you, man. Paxton, good to see you as well. Mike Myrick, good to see you. You put the beat down on Mark's school. Mike is a big Florida State fan. Mark Miami, and Florida State dominated in that rivalry series. I'm telling you, it's better for college football when those two teams are good. Unfortunately, for a while, it hasn't been both. Sometimes Miami was really good and Florida State was down. Florida State this year isn't really good, but they're bowl eligible now, finally, under Mike Norvell. 6-3, looking pretty good. Miami's down. So and I'm ready for these games to get a lot more physical, a lot more competitive, be ranked versus ranked matchups, have some sort of importance when it comes to the coastal and the Atlantic races and the ACC. That's what I'm looking forward to. But Mike, good to see you, man. Mike's definitely got you. He's got you bowling. Let's see what else he can do with 3 games left. Can he get you to 8-4, 9-3? What bowl game will you go to? That's the big question. Let's see. We got Eddie on here with us. Eddie, good to see you, man. Happy to have you. I did see where Drinkwood's got an extension. I don't see why. I think it was a horrible decision. Why would you get a guy that's consistently failing? I mean, I know there's been a lot of close losses, so maybe they feel like Missouri's getting there. Almost beat Missouri, almost beat Auburn, almost beat Florida, almost beat Kentucky. But you know what? The win's a win to win. A loss, loss, loss. But I do agree the Kentucky game, what a wild ending that was. Very, very wild ending at the end of that game. So, yeah, I know Missouri fans are really livid about that. And rightfully so. Eddie, I will tell you this, though. I do think it's probably going to end up coming down to the final game of the year between Arkansas and Missouri. I think that game easily could be determining who goes to a bowl game, right? I think I could easily see a 5-win Missouri team and a 5-win Arkansas team going at it on the day after Thanksgiving. It's only a couple weeks from now, about 2 weeks from Friday. I could see both teams only having 5 wins and the winner going bowling. So for a rivalry game for Missouri and Arkansas that many say has been forced, many have been disappointed and frustrated with, that would be a great opportunity to spark some life into that rivalry. Obviously it's not going to have any major implications, but everybody wants to go bowling. So 5-5, 5-6, both teams. Winner goes bowling, loser stays home. That adds some fuel to that rivalry, and I think that's probably what's going to happen there because both teams have just been terrible this season. Yes, Eli, good to see you. Big Liberty advocate. They deserve some credit, man. I was floored when the committee did not rank them. We'll talk about them here shortly. I was floored when the committee did not rank Liberty anywhere in the top 25. They're, 8-1? 8-1? Just went on the road and beat Arkansas, who, yes, wasn't ranked, wasn't an SEC elite, but still a road 14-point underdog. You went on the road and won against an SEC team on homecoming. That should stand for something. The only other loss was by 1 point to Wake Forest. I was floored that they're not giving Liberty the respect that they deserve in the playoff rankings. Another reason why this committee is extremely flawed. But Eli, good to see you, man. I am a Liberty advocate this year. Have them not highly ranked in our rankings, but outside the top 25, in the top 20. In the top 20, that's where they deserve to be. Doggy, let's bring up the other football. Who do I have winning the World Cup? Great question. I don't know if many of you guys know this. I'm actually a really big soccer fan. I really am. I'm a huge soccer fan, both international and Premier League. I am an Everton fan in the Premier League, and so to go along with one of my other teams, they're horrible. They're garbage. But if we just don't get relegated, hopefully it'll be okay. World Cup, though, I'll actually have some we're not going to probably have a whole video for it, but I'm actually going to sit down tomorrow and do my World Cup predictions. I haven't studied it too closely yet. France is always a safe bet, the reigning World Cup champions, but it's very hard to win back-to-back World Cups. I would love to see Messi finally get one. I'd love to see Argentina win it. They came so close in 2014, fell short to Germany. Would love to see Messi. He's the best player arguably of all time, but the big cups elude him. He struggles in a Copa America. He struggles in a World Cup. In all the big major tournaments, he typically struggles. Argentina does. Not his fault. And so it would be great to see him. He says this is his last World Cup. Be awesome to see Argentina get a win with him. Argentina's the real deal. France is the real deal. Brazil is the real deal. I think we hype Brazil up every year, every World Cup, and they fall short. But I think this is probably my top three: France, Argentina, Brazil. But every year we have some sort of underdog story. I think Greece was 1 year, Costa Rica was 1 year, last year was Croatia, or 2018 was Croatia. A lot of great opportunities there for soccer, and we'll break down. Maybe one live stream next week. We'll briefly share with you our World Cup predictions because I love soccer, and even if you're not a big soccer guy, you have to respect the game and obviously how big a deal the World Cup is. It only comes around once every 4 years. It's like an Olympics. It's a big deal, and it's something that brings not the world together. There's a lot of conflict, but we won't get into that. I'm very pumped about it though. Very excited for the World Cup, and I hope the USA does well. Hope they do well. We'll see if they do. All right. 2016 Cavaliers bold prediction says Ole Miss pulls off the upset over Alabama by 2 touchdowns. That would be shocking. Talk about like a reverse spread. That'd be something. South Tex, good to see you, my man. Go Bruins, right? We're about to talk about them. Good to see you. David Cattell, good to see you from Jacksonville. All the way from Jacksonville. David, a member of our GE Nation, an expert pick subscriber, has been a major advocate here at the channel. And David, we appreciate you and all your support. Thank you very much for being here. Happy to have you tonight. Along with, again, Robert Sharpton, Ryan DeYoung, and everybody else that might be watching either now or later. Happy to have all of you here. Last question before we get into our main topics for the night. 2016 Cavaliers, what was the greatest Arkansas team I ever witnessed? So in my lifetime, great question. Probably, honestly, that 2010 team was probably the best Arkansas team that I've watched. That 2010 team was good. Arkansas made the Sugar Bowl that year, lost in heartbreaking fashion to Ohio State, 31-26. Ryan Mallett, Niall Davis, Greg Childs, Jarius Wright, Joe Adams, DJ Williams. Defense was actually much better than people realize. I love Bobby Petrino. I still love Bobby Petrino. And if you go look at that 2010 slate, Arkansas was, blew a 20-7. They were up 20-7 over Alabama in Fayetteville. Scored like 2 plays into that game. Well, the loudest moment of Razorback Stadium that I ever remember. Blew it per usual. Lost to Alabama 24-20, so we're up 20-7. Allowed 17 unanswered. Lost. But Arkansas only lost 2 regular season games of the year. Lost to Alabama, a game they probably should have won, and then lost in controversial fashion to Auburn. People forget about that. They lost 63-45 to Auburn that year, and people go, well, 18 points, that's not controversial. If you go back and look at the officials, there were probably about 2 touchdowns that should have been wiped off the board for Auburn in that game. That was the Cam Newton year, though, of course, and we know how Cam Newton liked to get his money. So, yeah, I mean, I still think Arkansas probably would have lost that game in the end. They had no answer for him. No one really had an answer for Cam Newton that year, but it was a very controversial game at Jordan-Hare Stadium. So Arkansas probably should have been 11-1 at the time with the system. Wouldn't have made wouldn't have made a championship or anything. But man, it was that was a good team. The glory years of Arkansas football were 2010 and 2011. That's it. They've been garbage ever since. David, tell me Indiana has a chance versus Ohio State. You've got a chance if you can get some great weather, just like Northwestern had this last Saturday. Just like this last Saturday. If you can get some heavy rain and heavy winds, David, they've got an absolute chance to take down Ohio State. No doubt about it. All right, let's take a look at the college football playoff rankings from last night. And obviously this is not new news. You know, you guys have seen these. They came out yesterday. And again, we apologize for not being able to be here to break them down with you. But let's just take a look at them real quick. Really quick hitters. I will tell you, if you watch our Gridiron Expert Top 25 videos that typically come out on Sunday nights, it might come out this next Monday, but typically Sunday nights we release our own set of rankings, not based on the AP poll, not based on the playoff committee, solely where we believe the teams to be ranked. We actually agreed with them, believe it or not, for once on the top 7. I don't have any issues with the top 7 because that's how I ranked my top 7. I have Georgia at 1, Ohio State at 2, Michigan at 3, TCU at 4, finally getting some respect, being up there undefeated still. Although I do think they're going to lose this week to Texas in Austin. Watch out for that game. Talk about shaking up the playoff rankings. But those are your top 4. I agree with that. I agree with Tennessee at 5. I almost put Oregon at 5, but I decided to keep Tennessee there. Oregon at 6 and LSU at 7. Perfect. So kudos to the committee after a garbage first set of rankings, one that was absolute trash. They came back and got the top 7 right, in my opinion. In my opinion. They actually did a decent job. Then after that, of course, it gets kind of interesting. Obviously, people are not happy with Alabama and Clemson still being ranked in the top 10. I don't have much of an issue with that. I think I still had Alabama in my top 10. Clemson had just fallen out in our rankings. Look, Clemson and Alabama have eliminated themselves, so they're there because they are good teams. Clemson only has 1 loss. Alabama has 2 losses, yes, but they're by a combined 4 points to the number 5 and number 7 team in the country. So they don't deserve to fall too much like people want them to. So I don't have an issue with that. What I do have an issue with is actually what happens in the lower part of the rankings. I'll start. I still think USC is way too high. I still think USC is significantly way too high. UCLA, to me, has looked a lot better. We have UCLA ranked above USC in our rankings. We don't even have USC in the top 10 in our rankings because they don't deserve it. They are highly overrated. I mean, USC, guys, consistently is struggling against inferior opponents. I mean, how can you sit there and tell me that USC is a top 10 team when, first off, they haven't played anybody, and secondly, the teams that they have played, they've struggled against. I mean, they beat California 41-35. They allowed 35 points on a bad California offense and allowed 469 yards to the Golden Bears. They only beat Arizona by 8, allowed 37 points and over 500 yards to the Wildcats. They lost to Utah by 1. They struggled early against Washington State before finally pulling away. Struggled early against Arizona State before finally pulling away. They needed a touchdown with less than 2 minutes left to beat Oregon State. Needed 4 turnovers from Stanford to beat the Cardinal by 13. USC is not a great team. And I'm telling you, if you put USC against Tennessee, USC against any of the teams in the top 4, they would lose. No doubt about it. So to have them at 8th for what? For beating nobody? For having 0 ranked wins? 0 current ranked wins and 0 ranked wins at the time. They have faced 1 ranked team on their entire schedule in Utah, and they lost it. So how can you justify having USC at 8th over a team like UCLA, who's playing good ball. And yes, like the margin of victory, is there. Like UCLA lost by 15, but at least UCLA has some semi-decent wins. They've got a win over Washington, who the committee has right now. They got a win over Utah, who's a top 15 team right now. Beat Utah by 10. They beat Stanford by 25. USC only beat them by 13. Beat Arizona State by 14. USC only by 17. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. And as Eli says, it is name brand bias. And it is name brand bias. They love Lincoln Riley. They love Caleb Williams. They love the storyline there. They love to see USC being good. They love seeing those high brands up there. It's ridiculous. It's absolute garbage. And I'm not here to completely just dog on USC, but I think it is ridiculous that they've gotten so much hype and so much respect and so much attention when they've done absolutely nothing. They've done nothing worthy of getting to this point. So I do have a problem with that. Moving down the line, so obviously I think UCLA should be higher. Obviously I think Utah should be a little bit higher, but I had North Carolina at 15. NC State rising up there after their win over Wake Forest is fine. Love seeing Tulane and UCF as a top 25 matchup. That's going to be a video for us tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow we will be breaking down Oregon and Washington right here on the channel. So an Oregon-Washington video at 1 p.m. Central Time. And then Tulane and UCF. We actually do have a video for that, prediction video for that coming out at 6 o'clock Central Time tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that. And then obviously on Friday we'll have Alabama and Ole Miss. And if you have not joined our Gridiron Expert Discord, I highly recommend you do so because we will be putting post schedules out there starting tonight, the remaining of our post schedule for this week. And you'll definitely want to be in that for bowl season as we tell you when we're going to be breaking down each bowl game because we're going to be doing videos for all of those. But again, going down the rest of the rankings, guys, Notre Dame at 20th, I'm fine with. I agree with that. I am livid. And some people might think I'm wrong here, in the minority maybe. I am livid to see Kentucky in at 24th over a team like Liberty. What has Kentucky done to put them in the top 25? Tell me what they've done. Please. I would love to know. You know what I think that Kentucky's done? Kentucky is in the SEC East, and what they've done is they are getting to play Georgia next week, and they are once again wanting that to be a top 25 matchup. Kentucky plays Vanderbilt this week. Georgia plays Mississippi State. I highly doubt either of them lose. So it'll be a top 25 showdown between Georgia and Kentucky. It will boost Georgia's resume. It's going to look more attractive on paper. It's going to look more attractive on TV ads. It's on CBS. It's going to look great. Ranked versus ranked matchup. That's why Kentucky's in there. Because are you sitting here and telling me that a Kentucky team that, yeah, sure, is 6-3, that once again, though, hasn't beaten anybody good, really, deserves to be 24th in the country? They struggled against Missouri, only beat them 21-17 in controversial fashion, as Eddie would remind you. They got blown out by Tennessee. Kentucky was ranked 19th in the country at the time of the AP poll. Lost 44-6 to Tennessee. 44-6. They beat Mississippi State by 10. A Mississippi State team that's just mediocre. Lost by 10 to South Carolina, who's no good. Lost to Ole Miss. Only beat Northern Illinois by 8. Sure, they have a win against Florida people are going to brag about, but it's not that great. Not that great. Again, it's very biased, in my opinion. As our good friend Connor Hibbett says. Connor, good to see you. He says, Kentucky, they're a part of the SEC and gives Tennessee and Georgia a ranked win. It might be important later. Exactly. But we're not looking to cater to the SEC. We're not looking to cater to the name brands. That's my issue here. That's what they're doing. So Kentucky's in there, and they can say, look, Tennessee has a ranked win against Kentucky. Next week, Georgia will have a ranked win against Kentucky because Georgia's not losing to Kentucky. It's just not going to happen. So they're doing that to boost the resumes of Tennessee and Georgia. And when you think about it, maybe they're going to try to keep them in there because then they can use that argument for them if it does come down to a one-loss Tennessee and a one-loss Pac-12 champion Oregon. They can say, well, Tennessee does have a win over Kentucky, who we have ranked. Georgia's got a win over Kentucky, who we have ranked. Oregon, yeah, they beat Washington, who we actually do have ranked in our thing. But I'm just playing out all these different scenarios, guys, and just saying I'm livid. I was livid to see Kentucky in there over a team like Liberty, who is playing some really dang good football right now. And again, I know Arkansas is not a world beater, but neither is Missouri. 1 loss for Liberty, 3 losses for Kentucky. Liberty is the better team. I'm not saying put Liberty in the top 20. I mean, I have them there at 18th. But if you're going to throw Kentucky in there at 24th, then Liberty should be ranked, and they're not. It's a major disrespect to the Flames. I have an issue with that. And a lot of people have told me, they've come up to me and they say, why do you make such a big deal about the lower part of the rankings? The only ones that matter are probably like the top 10. Well, if that's the case, then let's just rank the top 10. This stuff matters. As Connor even said, it matters because it might be important later. It matters when we're weighing resumes. It matters when we're looking at, obviously just bowl matchups. Obviously the committee gets to choose who goes to the certain bowl games, the big New Year's Six bowl games, where the Group of 5 champion is ranked. If we have like UCF and Tulane right now are 17th and 22nd. Let's say that UCF wins on Saturday. I don't think Tulane drops out of the top 25. They're 17th. But UCF will be ranked ahead of them. So let's bump UCF to 18th. Let's bump Tulane down to 20th. They keep winning, and it's 18 and 20 in the American Champion. I mean, there is so much at stake in the lower part of the rankings. People don't understand that. But instead, ESPN, all these guys, they want to make money. So we're going to put on a big 30-minute to an hour-long playoff show. We're going to break down the rankings, and we don't see the rankings until you do. BS, whatever. Like, it's ridiculous. It's just an absolute hoax, and the committee is absolutely flawed. It's a horrible, horrible system. I agree they got the top 7 right. I agree they got the top 7 right. I'm not even going to argue that. And some people say that's all that matters. Well, you know what? Let's rank these teams in a respectful way. Let's rank these teams the way they deserve to be ranked. Again, if you're only going to say that the top 10 matters, and then we're going to just be lazy and we're going to mail in the rest of the top 25, the last 15 picks, and then just rank the top 10 and leave it alone. It's a flawed system. Frustrating as well. Going to hit a couple more comments real quick before we head into our second topic. We have a couple left tonight. Very excited about it. Decided to get going. Ty Parsley, good to see you. He agrees that USC is overrated. Most of you guys agree that USC is overrated, but like Scotty said, they're not losing to Colorado. No, they're not losing to Colorado, but I will tell you this, Scotty. If somehow, some way, USC struggles against Colorado or even allows more than 24 points to the Buffaloes, they deserve to drop. 34-point favorites on the road at Colorado. Colorado arguably the worst Power 5 team in the country. If USC, even at the slightest bit, struggles in that game, and I don't think they will, but if they do, their defense is horrendous, people need to wake up and say, maybe USC is a top 10 caliber. Maybe if USC allowed 24 points to Colorado and struggled with them for a half, do we really think they could hang with Tennessee? Do we really think they could hang with Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State? No, they can't. They just can't. All right, as Scotty said, make sure to hit that like button, guys. We really appreciate that. It helps us out big time. Helps us out so much. Jerry Turner. Jerry, I hope you're still here. Good to see you. Big Syracuse fan. Happy to have you on tonight. I'm doing extremely well. Happy to be back. Not that we really ever left. It's okay if you miss a live stream every now and then. It's just the way it is. Like we said, people just get busy. But we're happy to be here, Jerry. Happy to have you here. Hope you're doing well and hope you're recovering a little bit after that disappointing Syracuse loss again this last Saturday. Eugene Murphy, good to see you. Part of the GE Nation. Getting those big winnings, baby. Eugene, we're thrilled to have you tonight. He says, I'm ready for the playoff. You're going to be ready for what I'm about to show you here in a second as well. Then if you like the playoff, you're going to like what I'm about to show you. Connor Hibbett, again, good to see you. YVK, good to see you as well. Glad to have you as part of the stream tonight. Let's see here. Connor says, we need expansion when we start comparing scores of games and using the transitive property. You're exactly right. And speaking of expansion, Connor, that's a great little segue to what we typically like to do on Wednesdays. Let's take a look at what a 12-team playoff would look like right now based on the committee's rankings. What would it look like right now? And again, these quote-unquote predictions where we have these teams going, they're very loose, guys. We didn't really put much thought into it. We're just kind of trying to show you something here. Now, I've been telling you guys for a while that as long as the playoff expanded, everybody goes, why would the playoff expand? All it's going to do is just put the same 4 teams in there. It's going to put the same 4 teams in there. It's just going to make them play extra games. And I say wrong. The top 4 teams in the expanded playoff, I guarantee you 9 times out of 10 would not be in the Final Four. At least one of them would lose in the quarterfinals. I genuinely believe that. Now, you take a look at this right here. You can't tell me this would not be a fantastic system. A 12-team playoff based on the rankings that we just looked at, You would have Georgia at 1 because they would be the SEC champions. We're going with it here. Ohio State at 2. TCU at 3. So that's another beauty there, guys. Michigan still gets in as a 5 seed. But because Michigan would not win the Big Ten, we assume Ohio State gets that, we go to the third highest ranked conference champion. Well, in this sense, it's TCU. Then Oregon. So based on the committee's rankings, Georgia's 1, Ohio State's 2, TCU's 4, Oregon's 6. But based on an expanded playoff, they would be 1, 2, 3, 4. How about that? And they get a first round bye. How about that? Talk about, again, showing importance to a conference championship. Now, again, just because you win a conference championship doesn't mean you get a bye. It goes to the 4 highest ranked ones, but it does mean something. It doesn't get you in. That's important. So Georgia, Ohio State, TCU, Oregon. Then Michigan comes in. Then Tennessee comes in. And it kind of starts to fill in after that. LSU 7th in the rankings. They'd be 7th here. USC's 8th. Alabama 9th. Clemson 10th. Ole Miss 11th. And then, of course, you have to go to your group of 5 team. Last year, Cincinnati would have been ranked much higher, but because, you do have to include that group of 5 team, Tulane would be that 12th team right now, is the highest ranked group of 5 team in the country. Could be UCF after next week, who knows? But Tulane will come in at 12. And now look at these matchups. Keep in mind that the first round, guys, are played on campus. So Alabama would have to travel to USC, and some people would be frustrated. Alabama's getting in as a 2-loss team. That's frustrating. That's ridiculous. Well, look at this. Is it ridiculous, though? They deserve their shot. Their 2 losses were against really good teams by a combined 4 points. But now they have to travel to USC. We're not seeing these 2 teams play in Arlington or, Houston or Atlanta. No. It'd be at the Coliseum for a spot to move on in the playoff and to continue to have your shot at the national championship. Clemson would travel to LSU, a rematch of the national championship from a few years ago. We get to see this game in Death Valley, and people dub this. This is the real Death Valley. The winner of this game gets to claim Death Valley as their own. Clemson, of course, calls themselves Death Valley as well. Tennessee, Ole Miss. My God, the Lane Kiffin Bowl. How about that? I mean, how exciting would that be? We got to see these 2 teams play last year, and we saw how hostile it was. Now imagine this game being back at Neyland Stadium in a playoff game, the winner advancing to what we'll just call the Elite 8. God, the stakes are high. The hatred for Lane Kiffin high again. Ole Miss travels to Tennessee in a fantastic display of offense. I mean, what a great playoff this would be. And I can't wait. I really look forward to doing this every single week. I enjoy getting to do this every Wednesday, updating you on what it would look like because it should get you excited for what is to come. What could come as soon as 2 years from now. Going through the rest of this, guys, look at the quarterfinal games. Georgia and Bama. People would somehow complain about that, but this is Georgia-Bama, not for the national championship, for a spot in the semifinal. So people are going to complain, another Georgia-Bama game. Not really, because the loser is done. They don't get to play for a national championship. So once again, the stakes are extremely high. And what I like the most about this, guys, and I am so sick and tired of the 4-team playoffs because you just basically know who's going to win every year. I mean, I can count on probably one hand how many good quality playoff games we've had. The majority of them have resulted in blowouts. The majority of them I've been able to turn off at halftime. Look at these games here. The majority of these games would be pretty dang fun to watch and would probably be pretty close and pretty competitive. And it would create parity. And I once again tell you, the top 4 teams, even in this bracket, Georgia, Ohio State, TCU, Oregon, look at the Final 4. One of them's missing. I do think Tennessee would beat TCU right now, personally. Oregon, Michigan at a neutral site could be viewed as a toss-up. That Oregon offense against that Michigan defense, who gets it? Alabama, I do think, could beat Georgia at a neutral site. I do think it would be possible. So imagine if you had number 9 versus number 5, and then number 2 versus number 6. Parity. And people will be like, Alabama's there. You know what? Suck it up. That's my thing. If Alabama navigates from round 1 all the way to the national championship, then they deserve to be there. If they knock off USC on the road and beat Georgia at a neutral site and then beat Oregon or Michigan and then are able to take down Ohio State or Tennessee again in a rematch, they deserve it. This is the system we need. This is fun. This is exciting. This is how college football should be played and should be determined. Not some petty, pitiful little 4-team playoff It does absolutely nothing. And we'll leave out quality teams. Look at these rankings again, guys. We're going to be breaking down videos in the near future, talking about playoff scenarios. We'll probably be doing that the week before the season finale, certainly the week before conference championships, the night after conference. We'll be breaking them down. But you look at this, guys. We are already talking about how controversial the top four is going to be because Georgia's a lock. They're in. Even if they lose the SEC championship, they're in. So boom, count Georgia. You look at Ohio State, Michigan. One of them is going to lose. And more than likely, the loser of Ohio State, Michigan is going to be out of the playoffs. So Michigan and Ohio State, who have had fantastic seasons, one of them is going to finish 11-1 in theory and very well could miss out on the playoff. 11-1, they might miss out. TCU's had a great year. They have 2 losses. Their out strength of schedule certainly matters, but you hate to see a 10-2 TCU team who's had a fantastic run with quality wins miss out. Tennessee, what if they miss out? Tennessee goes 11-1, loses 1 game on the road to Georgia. They could miss out because Oregon is also 11-1, but they won the Pac-12 championship. Like, you're going to see quality teams being left out of the playoff this year if things go the way we think they're going to go. But you wouldn't have that with a 12-team playoff. Tennessee would get their shot. TCU would get their shot. LSU, Clemson, despite only having 1 loss. Clemson already has 1 loss and they're done. How unfair is that? Again, Clemson looked horrible in that game. They deserved to lose. I know the strength of schedule isn't there. I get it. But 1 loss and you're telling me they're out of the playoff? It's wrong. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. This is how it's going to be. People say it will take away meaning from the regular season, will hurt regular season games and make them less important. I strongly disagree. If anything, it makes them even more important, in my opinion. So, I don't know. That's just me. Again, guys, basically the way you need to look at this is the 12-team playoff, half of it is going to be made up of conference champions. Every conference champion is going to get in. Plain and simple. Then you're going to have 6 at-larges. Regular season games are going to matter. They're going to matter. They're going to be very important. You're going to be fighting for the at-large. Most of these teams are going to be fighting for at-larges. All right, got my blood boiling a little bit. I mean, again, just talking about how flawed the system is, how flawed everything is. It's just an interesting it's an interesting scenario. But change is on the way. The future is now. Watch Malcolm in the Middle. The future is now, old man. It's coming. Better days are ahead for all of us. All right, I want to take this moment real quick before we move on to our next topic to plug in our expert picks. I want to give a major shout out to those guys. We are, we've been talking about it. We're 8, just 8 subscriptions away from our goal of the year. How about that? Just 8. I think we can get it. We say, can we get this? Can we get this before the national championship? Can we get this before the college football season fully comes to a close? And you guys have been doing a phenomenal job of helping us get there. Help us get there now. We're just 8 subscriptions away from the expert picks. And keep in mind, it's a year-long subscription. So if you buy right now, you will have it through November 9th of next year as well. So it's not just like, why would I buy at the end of the season? The season's almost over. You get it all the way practically through next year as well. It's cheap. One of the lowest prices in the entire country, guys. And we are beating out over 61% on the spread, beating over 81% on the money line, and we're beating out over 80% of the national analysts. We've been doing that each of the last 4 years. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Our numbers this year have been phenomenal. Best years we've had in a while. But when we say that, best years in a while, well, guess what? Still better than 80% of the national analysts. National analysts and handicappers, pretty dang bad. We're kicking them out of the water. Could have said another word there. I'm going to try to keep it clean. We're blowing these guys out of the water, and we're offering it to you for a very, very low and fair price. Some of these guys are selling 1 day's worth of picks for $60. We're giving you a year's worth of picks for $60, and we're winning with them. You will make that back in a weekend. We can guarantee you that. 8 away, guys. Help us get there. Help us get to our goal. Help us reach that, again, 24-hour live stream if we, in fact, do reach that goal. And I'm telling you, I want it. I want to get that so we can do that live stream with you guys. So tell your friends, if you haven't subscribed already, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, post it out somewhere. Say, hey, you want to make some money this weekend? Come to the Gridiron Expert. Our picks for college football have already been posted. Our picks for NFL have already been posted. All of them are on the website. They're in the Discord. Will be here in a little bit. We'll be on the Discord. Links down in the description below for every single video. Help us out. Help us reach our goal. We would genuinely appreciate it. All right. Want to hit the chat for a few seconds before we get to the main reason we're wearing this wacky banana shirt. The main reason we get on here on Wednesdays, and that is Upset Wednesday. Wacky Upset Wednesday, mind you. But let me go through the chat real quick. We got Sarah Brown on there with us. Sarah, she goes, how you doing? Like Joey from Friends. I like it. Sarah, good to see you. Happy you're here. Govac Greatness. Doing pretty good, though, by the way. Govac Greatness. What should A&M do in the offseason to succeed next year? Fire Jimbo? I only partially kid about that. They've got to get some play callers, man. The offense is stagnant. The offense is atrocious. They've got to settle on a quarterback, whether that's going to be Connor Weidman, who I thought's been playing relatively well, whether they go with somebody else. They've got to be able to settle. This quarterback carousel, and I know there's been some injuries and things like that, but that's not a good excuse. The quarterback carousel isn't working. You need a play caller in there that can develop players, that can call competent plays. And honestly, what A&M needs to stop doing is stop talking. All we hear about A&M all the time is, we got the #1 recruiting class. We beat Alabama last year, so we're going to be great again. That doesn't mean anything. How about you shut up and start playing? You shut up and start playing some football. All right? Because as we all know, preseason expectations mean nothing. Right? And quite frankly, if I'm being honest with you, recruiting rankings mean nothing. You know, congrats, A&M. You just landed a #1 recruiting class. And where do you stand? You might not even go bowling. You went from number 6 in the country to might not even be going bowling. Probably won't be going bowling. We've said time and time again, there's a difference between 5-star talent, 5-star culture. You need coaches and you need a culture that can develop these players, because the high school level or the college level is so drastically different, just like college to the NFL is so drastically different. And if you don't have the staff to develop these recruits that you are priding yourselves on, then they are going to fail. And in turn, your team is going to fail. That's why there are a lot of coaches out there that continue to do more with less, not because maybe the talent's better. I don't think the talent at, App State is better than A&M's. I'll go with that. Upsets do happen. Upsets clearly happen. I don't think the talent at Liberty is better than the talent at Arkansas. Sorry, Eli, I just don't. However, I do believe that the talent was developed better at App State. I believe the talent was developed better at Liberty. I believe the coaching on both sides is clearly better. And so what A&M needs to do is they need to clean house on the coaching staff. Maybe they don't get rid of Jimbo because of that significant buyout, but you got to go get yourself a play caller, and you got to start developing talent the right ways, because A&M's going to start losing recruits like that, and they're going to start going to winners, and they're going to start going to coaches that know how to coach and know how to develop. And A&M is not that place. A&M is an absolute dumpster fire right now, and until they recognize that, they're going to continue to fail, they're going to continue to talk, and they're going to continue to go 8-4 or worse. Start developing your talent. Bringing big-time recruits in does nothing for your program, does nothing for your fan base unless they show up and show out. And I don't really want to blame the players that much for that. I blame the coaches more than that for anything. Great question, though. Great question, though. Eli says, if the playoff was expanded to 16 with every conference champion, then Liberty would have a good chance of getting in once we join the Conference USA next year. Very, very true. If that was the case, they would definitely be in. Connor says, where is he? I'm going to use my bowl mania theory this year. Based on my numbers, it should work very well for roughly 35% of bowl games. That's a pretty good number. I can't give away any secrets, though, but maybe I can tell you afterwards. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to, after bowl games, of course. Yes, I know you do your big bowl mania group, and you can't give away your secret. You can't lose. So very fair, Connor, but I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear your thoughts for sure. All right, Connor says, what's a good offseason move for A&M? And he answers, not being ranked in the top 10. True. 2016 Cavaliers, what do you, well, I do lies when college football's over, basically the offseason. We will do some. We've got a lot of things we're going to be working on over the course of the offseason. We still have a lot of football left to be played, guys. You got to keep in mind, we still got about 2 more months of, hopefully live streams and games to break down and predict. We've got the rest of the regular season. We've got conference championships. We've got bowl games. The national championships not till like January 9th, I think. After that, we'll have yearly recaps. We'll recap the national championship. We'll recap how we did this season on our predictions that, we've been putting out every week and that we put out all summer long for every team. We got a lot of content left that'll probably carry us through about mid-January. And then for us, that's when the off-season really begins. And we'll come back with an occasional live stream and a lot of different video topics, but a lot of changes that we're hoping to make here at the channel just everywhere. Hopefully, through the help of the GE Nation as well, whether it's through super chats and expert picks and ad revenue and things like that. Hopefully equipment upgrades and upgrades here. We're going to get an opportunity for you guys to send us some wacky shirts and send us some of your helmets and memorabilia. We're looking forward to that. We're looking at starting a Patreon. We're looking to really build this thing, continue to build it and grow. So there probably won't be as many regular live streams in the off season, but we will. The plan is to, yes, still have some 100%. Great question. Yeah, Connor, for sure, man. You did a great job with the graphics, and we'd love to get you on to do your takes as well. So yeah, any exposure is good exposure, right? We'd love to get you on, man, because you did a fantastic job this last summer. So to talk about changes we're going to continue to make, that'll definitely be one of them. Let's see. Eli, should Auburn hire Freeze? I'm sincerely hoping they go with someone else so Liberty can keep him longer. Auburn should hire Hugh Freeze 100%. They need to hire Hugh Freeze. He, to me, is the best option for Auburn, but I don't know if they're going to be able to land him. Aaron L., good to see you, Aaron. Glad you're here. How about Bo Nix? Heisman finalist for sure. Should be a Heisman finalist. I don't know if they'll give it to him, but he should. I fully agree with that. 100%. Let's see here. Go back greatness. I want to answer this last one before we get to the upsets. Major upset Wednesday. Wacky upset Wednesday, and we haven't even talked about them yet because we got so deep into the playoff discussion. Jimbo needs to whip his players into shape like Dion does. Can't have your 5-star freshman doing donuts in a parking garage and smoking in the locker rooms. They could start with a road win versus Auburn. Even that will not save A&M. Again, that comes down to a culture, guys. Do the A&M players fear their coaches? No. Do they? Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to make it as nicely as possible. This is not all college football players, so don't take this the wrong way, because it's far from it. But we are in an age of college sports, guys. We are in the age of college sports where players do not care about the program for which they are playing for. And let's be perfectly honest. The majority of the players do not care about the program they're playing for. If they win, great. If they lose, who cares? Their mindset now is, let's go get that NIL money, let's play at a college for a year or two, and let's jump ship and go to the NFL, if they're good enough for that. There is very little pride, very little leadership, very little effort from players now, especially if you are not an elite contender. I believe that players at Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, guys, have a little bit more pride because they are playing for something. And someone they'll say, well, yeah, if you're not playing for anything, you shouldn't try. False. I disagree. Only a select few teams, guys, are going to be in the hunt for a conference championship, the hunt for a playoff berth. But the other teams that are not there still have shots at New Year's Six bowl games, still have shots to break team records, such as like Tulane. You think Tulane is thinking they're going to the playoff? No. But Tulane's off their best start since 1998. There's a lot of pride there. There's a lot of effort there. But at teams and places like Texas A&M right now, like Arkansas, the effort we saw this last Saturday against Liberty, teams like that, teams like maybe Mississippi State as well, is barely surviving Auburn, maybe teams like Auburn. I'm using a lot of FCC teams here. You can go over to the Big Ten, though. You can use teams in the Big Ten. Michigan State. Sure, they beat Illinois. Great, good for them. For the most part, it's been a very bad year for them. And the act they did on Michigan and the tunnel was atrocious, disgraceful, horrible. Talk about pride. You talk about effort. You talk about the mindset and the mentality. These players don't have it anymore. It's a completely different game. And Eugene, I see you're with me. Good point. The players could care less. They could care less. They don't care. And when the going gets tough, when a team loses a heartbreaking game, when they realize, hey, we're not in the hunt for the playoff anymore. Oh, we're not in the hunt for the conference championship anymore. Oh, we're not in the hunt to make a New Year's Six bowl game anymore. We can still go to an Outback Bowl, a Citrus Bowl, whatever. But when the going gets tough, players give up. And that is a problem that we have with a lot of, and I'm talking like I'm 70 years old here. Obviously, I'm not. But I mean, I see it too among coworkers, among friends, among players. The going gets tough. It's easy to just give up because who cares? These players are like, hey, we're 5-4. We're 500 in October. Sure, we could win out. We could win 8 games, 9 games. It'd be pretty good. But you know what? Who cares? Or, oh, we're playing a crap team this week. I bet, who cares? We don't need to study that hard. We don't need to watch film that closely. We don't need to practice that hard. And then guess what? That team comes in and pops you in the mouth. App State, to A&M, Liberty, to Arkansas. Just to name 2 off the top of my head. These players do not care. They have no pride in their school. They have no pride in their program. It has become a very selfish game. And unless you have a coach and a staff that will fix that and instills a good culture in the locker room, a culture that partially, dare I say, should have a little bit of fear in it. Players fear Kirby Smart. Players fear Nick Saban. Players fear Ryan Day. You're not there to be their best friend. You're not there to tell them how good they are. You're there to run a good program, a successful program, and to make those players better. Not only as better players, but as better people. We're not seeing that. We're not seeing that at the majority of the programs across the country. Unless your team is elite, you're not seeing that. And that elite team, when the going gets tough, they tank. They tank. It's a selfish game. It's become a selfish game. It's become a sad game. And again, there's something to be said for 5-star culture over 5-star talent. Culture is the key. How you run your program, how you discipline your players, the expectations you set, and being able to maintain those expectations, even when things get rocky, when things get tough, that is a sign of a good coach and a good program. Majority of the players are not there for the right reason, though, and they do not play the game for the right reason. Plain and simple. It's very, very frustrating. Very, very frustrating, but so it goes. All right, let's get into the main reason we're here, right? You know, as we near the end of the first hour, and see how long we go tonight. Let's get into Upset Alert, baby. Who is on Upset Alert? You know, who are we talking about tonight? Got a couple games that we could keep our eye on. Now, you know, actually, there were not many. You know, keep in mind our criteria for Upset Alert over the course of this year has typically been a double-digit underdog that could win the game outright. Double-digit underdog that could win the game outright. And there was only one. There was only one that I saw that was justifiable to put on Upset Alert. Now, we do have 2 other ones. 2 other top 25 teams that could possibly be on Upset Alert that are slight favorites that could be Upset Alerts. But let's get into the double-digit one first. And our first big Upset Alert on this wacky, wacky Wednesday is none other than, I'm sure many of you could guess it, Alabama and Ole Miss. Because yes, as a matter of fact, somehow Alabama is about a 12, depending on where you shop, around a 12-point favorite on the road against Ole Miss, who is coming off a bye week. Interesting, isn't it? Alabama coming off a loss to LSU, a very heartbreaking loss on the road at LSU, is out of the playoff race. But obviously this game is important for many different reasons. And we're going to have an official prediction out for this game on Friday, guys. So you'll get to hear from us whether we believe that Ole Miss will pull off this upset or whether Alabama will right the ship and get back in the win column. But you look at this game, I mean, I haven't been a very big advocate I have not been a very big advocate for Ole Miss. I've been very frustrated with them and the attention that they're getting because of the weak strength of schedule. Their first really true test of the year was on the road to LSU, and they got popped in the mouth and lost by 25. They haven't played anybody good. They've played two teams this year with a record above 500. Two of their wins. Two of their wins have come against games with teams with a record above 500. One of those was Kentucky. Doesn't really say that much. The other was Troy out of the Sun Belt. But Ole Miss, guys, coming off the week of rest, Lane Kiffin, Bama, that's, of course, going to be the big storyline. Obviously, Alabama, how do they respond after a loss? Again, talk about that culture. How does the team respond, knowing that they're not going to be in the playoff hunt, knowing that they're probably not going to make the SEC championship, barring some absolute chaos? Now, we do know that if Alabama beats Ole Miss, if Alabama can beat Ole Miss, then LSU practically clinches the SEC West, unless they were to lose to Arkansas or A&M somewhere down the road. But that is something to kind of keep in mind as we go forward here, that this actually has major SEC West title implications, despite Alabama having two conference losses. But Alabama's offense versus Ole Miss defense has improved. Ole Miss's rushing game against Alabama's rushing defense, a lot at stake on Saturday. This game, to me, is going to go one of two ways. And you're probably going to say, this is a lazy pick, right? This is a lazy analysis. But, this is the way I see it. It's going to go one of two ways. Alabama's either going to blow Ole Miss out of the water, walk into Oxford pissed off, and just pop them in the mouth. That's going to be over quick. Or this game is going to come all the way down to the fourth quarter. That's the way I see it. It's either going to be an Alabama blowout or a very narrow victory on either side. Ole Miss isn't going to blow them out. Alabama's not going to win by like 10, 12. Like that be the margin. It's either going to be just busted open, huge margin of victory, or close, competitive. It's the only way I see it, in my opinion. So, but watch out for Ole Miss, though, guys. Potential upset alert there. And imagine if Alabama were to lose a third regular season game. How crazy would that be? Who would have thought, right? So watch out for that. Our other upset alert. We have two more, but another one here. Typically, we like to do a top 25 team that is on upset alert, but is only a single-digit favorite. Anywhere from a pick'em to 9 points, 9.5. And we have LSU and Arkansas. LSU and Arkansas. Eli called it. Is LSU on upset alert against Arkansas? We think they might be. I don't know how. But here is the classic setup for an upset, right? The classic setup for an upset. LSU is high off their win over Bama. They're riding that high. Now they stroll into Fayetteville for a cold 11 a.m. kickoff. It's going to be, I think, in the 40s. And that might be the high for the day. So it might be in the high 20s or 30s when the game kicks off. So a cold game in Fayetteville, an early morning game in Fayetteville, a rivalry game. Obviously, we've seen a lot of crazy matchups in LSU and Arkansas's history. So it'd be interesting to see what can happen this time. Arkansas, yes, was abysmal against Liberty, had no effort. So this is, again, one of those effort games here that we were just talking about. Does LSU suffer the letdown loss to Arkansas, riding the high from the Alabama victory? Does Arkansas right their ship? A poor performance against Liberty where they showed no effort and no fight whatsoever. A classic game with the players just genuinely not caring and the coaches couldn't do anything about it, or maybe they didn't even try to do anything about it. Does Arkansas right the ship, play hard, play with more effort, and do they take down the number 7 team in the country who some people think could possibly win out and make the playoff as the first 2-loss team ever? Watch out for this game, guys. Early morning game in Fayetteville. It's going to be very, very interesting. It's ultimately going to come down to KJ Jefferson's health for Arkansas and if Arkansas has any fight. Because Arkansas and LSU have a lot of classic games, guys. I do see this game being relatively close. Last year was a thriller in Death Valley. And I would not be surprised to see Arkansas hang in this one until the fourth quarter. So watch out here. It's a matter of if Razorbacks can finish. They are on upset alert, though. And again, how crazy would that be, right? Like LSU just beats Alabama and then goes on the road to take on Arkansas. Everybody thinks they're going to blow them out. But keep in mind, the spread for that game is only about 3 points. That should tell you something. 3-ish points for LSU against an Arkansas team that's just not all that good. Something to think about there. What is Vegas trying to say? Are they trying to get you to bet on LSU? I'm jumping. And do they know something, or what? Or are they trying to sway you and go, well, 3 points. I mean, Arkansas is better. What? Let's just take Arkansas +3. Why not? What are they trying to do here? They're toying with us. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. It'll be very interesting. Watch out for that game. How crazy would that be? Transitive property doesn't work in college football. Let's just say that. You can't just sit there and go, LSU beat Alabama, Arkansas lost to Liberty, therefore LSU will beat Arkansas. This doesn't work that way. This doesn't work that way. LSU got blown out by Tennessee. Tennessee beat Alabama. There's no way that LSU beats Alabama. But they did. So you can't just follow that logic, Sometimes you think that I think that sometimes too, but every week is a new week. Every week is a new week. The mentalities change, the players change, the calls change, the weather changes, the location changes. So much that goes into every single game. As soon as the clock hits 0 on the game that you've been playing, attention shifts to the next week. Completely different scenario. Last big upset alert here, guys, that we want to talk about. And this one is actually one that we've already talked about a little bit if you frequent our channel. TCU, Texas. TCU and Texas. Now, before I get all the comments, I know what you're going to say. Texas is favored in this game. So are we saying that the upset would be TCU beating Texas? No. The upset, as we all know, would still be Texas over TCU. TCU, the higher-ranked team, the only undefeated team in the Big 12, the Big 12's best chance to get a team in the college football playoff, the number 4 team in the country. Could they lose to Texas? Even though Texas is favored, I still think the upset would be Texas beating the Horned Frogs. I think that would be more of an upset than anything else, clearly, even though the Longhorns are favored. If you have not watched it, you should go back and check our Texas and TCU prediction video, guys. We loved producing that one out there. Go over, check it out. It's already been posted right here on the channel. Already been posted. Along with this week, we will have the other big top 25 matchups. We're going to be discussing those with individual videos, and I got to tell you, the thumbnails for those are just marvelous. They are fantastic. Works of art. Put them in the Louvre. I love the thumbnails that we've got for, especially the Tulane game. Tomorrow night, make sure you tune into the UCF Tulane prediction video, because that was a really fun one to get done. But, as Jerry said, this is the game of the week. It's the game of the week for us. I fully agree it is. It's a Texas-sized showdown, as we say. And I'm just going to tell you now, you need to go watch the video as well. We got Texas right behind us, inverted cameras. Texas right behind us here. We're picking them to win. I give you a spoiler. I'm telling you who's going to win. You should still go watch the video. Why? Because you get to know why we think they're going to win. But I do think Texas beats TCU. I think Texas eliminates the Big 12 from the playoff race. I think we will have a new top 4 team next week. Whether they move Tennessee into that role, whether they move Oregon into that role, which personally for me, I think they should move Oregon into that role. I'm going to tell you this right now. That's another spark controversy. TCU loses. Does Tennessee move into that 4th spot? They've been ahead of Oregon. Or does Oregon jump into that 4th spot if they beat a top 25 team in Washington? Something to think about. But I do think Texas beats TCU in the game of the week. It's an upset alert. It is an upset alert. So winding down from that, and as we slowly but surely wind down the live stream, we still got a little bit of time left, and we are going to take your questions in the chat. Upset alerts could be Ole Miss over Alabama. Imagine if the Crimson Tide were handed their 3rd loss of the year. Ole Miss trying to keep their SEC title hopes and potential playoff hopes alive, guys. No one's talking about Ole Miss in the playoff race. We do understand that if Ole Miss were to beat Alabama and LSU were to lose to Arkansas, who we do have on upset alert, LSU does, LSU would have 2 conference losses. Ole Miss would have 1 conference loss. And if Ole Miss were able to win out and Arkansas were able to beat LSU, and Ole Miss gets to the SEC championship and is able to somehow take down Georgia, Ole Miss is in the college football playoff. They're 11th, but the opportunity for the Rebels to rise up and contend for a playoff spot is not out of the question. So the Alabama-Ole Miss game holds a lot of weight there. Arkansas, could they beat LSU? LSU riding the high after Alabama could help out Ole Miss. And think about the irony, the beauty of college football irony. 2015, 2015, we're going to come back to that. 2015, Arkansas plays Ole Miss in Oxford. And if you're a college football fan, you'll remember this. The 4th and 25 play. Hunter Henry, now a tight end with the New England Patriots, was a star with the Chargers, star with Patriots. In overtime, down a touchdown, catches the ball well short of the first down marker, just chunks it behind his head, keeps the play alive. Alex Collins picks it up, gets the first down. Arkansas scores, goes for 2, gets it, wins 53-52 in Oxford. Why is that important? Ole Miss was the front runner in the SEC West at that point. They were only like 18th in the country, but they had the SEC West lead. Arkansas beat them in Oxford when they shouldn't have on a crazy play. Gave Alabama their shot, put them back in over Ole Miss. Ole Miss had beaten Alabama earlier in the year. The irony, payback. Imagine Ole Miss beats Alabama. They need Arkansas to come through. They were livid at Arkansas for what happened in 2015. They ruined Ole Miss's shot at winning an SEC championship. And Ole Miss now is saying, Arkansas, please beat LSU. Help us out. We know what happened in 2015. We forgive you. Just beat LSU now to help us out if we beat Alabama. Arkansas LSU is at 11. Ole Miss and Alabama's at 2:30. So Ole Miss fans will be bringing a diehard Arkansas fan. Just imagine the irony. 7 years down the road, Arkansas goes from ruining Ole Miss's shots to giving Ole Miss a shot if the Rebels can win and if Arkansas can win. Both very, I wouldn't say unlikely, but not as likely, but it is college football. Anything can happen. Crazy stuff to think about, guys. All right, with that, that concludes the topics of the night. We have gone down. We took a look at the playoff rankings. We took a look at the expanded playoff and what that would look like. We took a look at the upset alerts. Again, Bama, Ole Miss, LSU, Arkansas, TCU, Texas. Big-time games this Saturday. We have prediction videos out for those this week. Texas, TCU is the first one. Tomorrow is Oregon and Washington, along with UCF and Tulane. Friday would be Alabama, Ole Miss. Sunday, the recap video, along with our GE rankings, which might come out on Monday, actually. Again, we're going to have that post schedule in the Discord if you haven't signed up for that. And then we start a whole new week of college football coverage on technically Monday, kind of. So heading into week 12. A lot of stuff coming at you guys. Tell your friends. Like the stream, share the videos, comment, buy the picks, write a letter, send a text, send an email. Do what you got to do. Bring them into the GE Nation. You know, I don't want to compare. All right? I don't want to compare. But you know how, like, when you're like, you know, you go to church, and it's always like, bring a friend. You know, like when I was in youth, you know, I did the youth group. I actually played in the band, right? I played in the praise band at church, right? And it was always, hey, bring a friend. Get more people to come through the door, you know? Do that here. Bring a friend. Say, hey, tonight, 7 o'clock, why don't you come over to my house? Let's watch the GE live stream. Let's talk college football. Let's call in together and we do call-in shows. Hey, I bought these expert picks. I just won a lot of money off them. You should do them too. We can win together. We can bounce ideas off each other. Hey, you know, I know you're a big Tulane fan. I know you're a big Alabama fan. Hey, check out this guy. He just did a great breakdown on this game. You might like it. Bring a friend. Spread the word. That's what we're trying to build. We're trying to build a community here. We're doing a pretty dang good job of it because of people like you, all of you guys. But I think we can keep doing better. Again, we're 8 away from our goal here on the expert picks. Again, I want to plug that again. 8 away from our goal. Can you help us get there? I think you can. I think we can, personally. I really do. 8 away before the end of January or January 10th. I think we can get there. Tell your friends, though. Tell your friends. All right. Going through the chat. We're talking about the bad culture. I kind of got a little deep there with that conversation, but it's true. It's just the fact that matters, what it is that we're dealing with, unfortunately. Connor Hibbett, South Florida, plus 17.5 against SMU. Play with a passion with an interim coach against the SMU team coming off a big win right before the Ponies play against Tulane. Trap in terms of a cover, possibly. Now, Connor, I will say with our upset alerts, we're picking the double-digit underdog to win it outright, not just to cover. So I don't think USF would win that game outright, but to cover very well could. The SMU game was insane, right? SMU Houston, wow. No one talked really about that game. We actually didn't talk about it on our recap, but I was keeping an eye on it. I mean, when I saw the halftime score and it was like 56-35 or whatever, I was like, oh, ESPN screwed up. That's the final score. No, it was this halftime. I mean, what a game. What a game. And you're right, Tulane the next week. I'm really looking forward to seeing SMU's offense against that Tulane defense. Let's see. Let's see here. Catching up on that. Sarah Brown says she doesn't think Arkansas can beat LSU. I don't think many people do. She doesn't think Arkansas can beat LSU. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think they can either, personally. I don't think they will either. But I do think it's a possibility. I'm not completely ruling it out for the Razorbacks. As a Liberty fan, I can see it's on upset alert against UConn. Hope we don't have a letdown after our first ever SEC win. Eli, it's entirely possible. UConn just needs one more win to go bowling. Who would have thought that in first year under Jim Mora? Who would have thought they'd be going bowling? Possibly. So you're right. It's all about the letdown game. You're riding the high. You think we're God. We are so, LSU thinks they're the best because they beat Alabama. Liberty thinks they're the best because they beat an SEC team. So you're riding that high and you look and you go, Arkansas. And Liberty goes, UConn. We got this. And all it takes is a little bit of a bad play or a little bit of a slow start. You mentioned Arkansas' slow start against Liberty. First half effort was horrible. Second half effort was pretty good. Almost came back and won the game, or at least tied it. It's a full 60 minutes. You don't win a game after 30 minutes. You don't win a game after 40 minutes. You don't win a game after 59 minutes. You have to play a full 60 minutes. And that's where teams typically do slip up, is sluggish starts, and they dig themselves a hole, and they can't dig out of it. That's exactly what Arkansas did. What LSU could do this Saturday. Alabama could do. Who knows? Excellent question. So, extra points. Sarah Brown says, "Go Hunter Henry." The Patriots tied in. So he is doing very well though in New England. I do hope New England's able to get into the NFL playoffs. Just I'm a big Belichick fan. I do respect Hunter Henry. I like Mac Jones a lot. So I would love to see that happen. Anthony James, good to see you, man. I'm happy you're here. He says, I like Purdue over Illinois in an upset. Wasn't a double-digit underdog, but he likes Purdue in an upset. I know Connor says, I was about to say, I see if he said something. I agree. Yeah, Connor is so high on Purdue this year, and I love it. And I wish Purdue just laid an egg against Iowa. I wish Purdue had defeated Iowa. It would make things a little bit more interesting. But Purdue losing to Iowa hurt them, and then when Illinois lost to Michigan State, it didn't. Because the Big Ten West is practically on the line this Saturday when Illinois faces Purdue. Purdue clearly to me has the better I say that. Illinois got a great rushing game. Purdue's got a great passing game. Illinois has the better defense. They've got home field advantage. I'm picking Illinois in that game. Wouldn't mind seeing Purdue pull off the upset though. I think it'd be pretty cool. Honestly, just hoping for a good game between two teams that were very disappointing in Week 10. But Anthony, good to see you, man. I appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. Jerry, he said he's been spreading the word. He's like, I'm telling everybody, I got my contacts list on my phone. I'm sending out mass group texts, group me's, the links. I appreciate you, man, Jerry. I appreciate you up there and with the Q's. Connor Hibbett, Missouri plus 21 at Tennessee. Missouri might be this year's Nebraska with close losses. And how does Tennessee bounce back? Will they try too hard? I don't think so. I think Tennessee might win that game by a lot. I really do. I think Tennessee's out to because as someone once said a couple days ago, they said, Tennessee's in a tough spot now. They don't control their destiny anymore. Georgia has the SEC East on lockdown unless they were to lose to Mississippi State and Kentucky. They've got to lose both, and they're just not. So it's a lock for Georgia to win the East at this point. Tennessee knows they're not going to have a shot at a conference championship, but they know they're still alive in the playoff. And knowing that, they're going to need as many style points as they can get. And the next few games aren't very good for Tennessee. I mean, who do they have? Probably Missouri, Vanderbilt, and some cupcake team. So they need to win all those games by a lot. They don't need them to be close. And they need to probably cover in all of those games. Not that the committee is going to say, oh, you only beat Missouri by 20? You're out, But they do need some sort of, just dominance. I think, if anything, it's kind of like Alabama typically after a loss. I think Tennessee's going to come out angry. I think they're going to come out frustrated. And I think they're going to put a beating on Missouri. I think they're going to put a beating on the rest of their opponents the rest of the year. Robert Sharpton, I appreciate you and your support, man. Eli, I do not watch pro wrestling. My uncle was big into pro wrestling and tried all he could to get me into it, and I just couldn't do it. I mean, obviously, I know a lot about pro wrestling. I know the wrestlers. I know how it works, but I've just never really been that big into it. So yeah, with that, let me take this last question real quick from Anthony. I'm gonna take this last point from him, and then we'll wrap things up for the night. Unfortunately, but let me take a look here. He says, one can argue North Carolina and USC are the same, except for the brand, and that's what separates them by 7 spots. Crazy. Both 8-1 with a very weak schedule. And I want to touch on that as we close. Scotty, who should Baylor fans go for between Texas and TCU? Dang, Scott, it's a tough question. Baylor hasn't played any of them yet. That's the thing. I think probably Texas, Scotty. Probably I could see Texas slipping up before. I can't remember who Texas plays after TCU. I can't remember who it is, but obviously I know Baylor plays them in the finale. Baylor plays TCU next week. If Baylor needs to beat Kansas State, and Scott, I'd probably root for Texas. Send TCU to a loss. If Baylor can beat TCU, it'll eliminate them practically from Big 12 title contention. I'd be rooting for Texas, Scotty. I really would. Anthony, to answer your question, USC and North Carolina, both 8-1, very weak schedules. And you're right. And we just broke down USC a little bit before we tech Kansas next week, Scotty. Yeah, Texas. Be rooting for Texas. I think Kansas could take them. I really do. I really do. So, yeah, you need to be rooting for Texas. I can see them beating TCU, losing to Kansas, eliminating themselves. Baylor beats Kansas State. Yeah, root for Texas. But we broke down USC. They have no ranked wins. No ranked wins. Let's pull up the college football playoff rankings again, just so people can see it. You see USC is at 8, and you see North Carolina is at 15. If this was basketball, the roles would probably be reversed, and North Carolina would be 8th or higher, and USC would probably be 15th or so if we're basing that off of the just the metrics here in the name brand. Funny how name brands change based on the sport. But, USC has no ranked wins. They struggled against Stanford. They struggled against Oregon State. They struggled against Arizona. They struggled against California. I mean, all these one possession win over California, one possession win over Arizona, not necessarily world beaters, allowing 35 points or more in each of those 2 games. Barely getting by USC. It's sad. It's sad. And so to put them at 8 when they have all these narrow victories and no quality wins is mind-boggling to me. And someone's going to say, well, yeah, they almost beat Utah. Keyword is almost. They lost to them by 1 point in the final minutes or final seconds. Sure, but loss is a loss is a loss. Luckily for USC, they do have UCLA and Notre Dame on deck in the final 2 games of the year. If USC could win out, getting those wins over UCLA and Notre Dame would be huge. And obviously a Pac-12 championship might be enough to propel them into the Final Four. You look at North Carolina, on the other hand, also at 8-1, and you have to measure the losses too as well. Like, North Carolina's loss was to Notre Dame at home. They didn't look good. They got torched by that defense. USC lost by 1 point on the road to Utah. North Carolina's loss to Notre Dame was at home. But again, North Carolina hasn't beaten anybody either. I mean, they played, as you said, a very weak schedule, and they haven't looked all that great either. 3-point win over Virginia, 3-point win over Duke, 3-point win over Miami on the road, 7-point win over Georgia State, 2-point win over App State. And maybe that's what they're trying to account for here is that, North Carolina has played more, Sun Belt opponents. App State's not bad, Georgia State's not bad, but weaker. At least, USC played Fresno State and Rice, which I don't really think as much either. But, neither team has a ranked win to my knowledge. Yeah. Neither team has a ranked win over teams currently ranked or were ranked at the time. Neither of them has it. I do agree with you, Anthony. I think it is name brand because, honestly, a lot of them have been weak schedules, and the margin of victory has been very slim for USC, just like it has been for North Carolina. It's not like they're blowing these teams out of the water. So I think both teams are a tad bit overrated. I really do. I think I've got USC in my top 15. North Carolina, they're both top 15 teams, but neither is top 10. Let's put it at that. In between 11th and 15th. I think I've got UNC at 15th and USC around 13th or 12th, somewhere, maybe 11th actually, but not very high. So I fully agree with you. And isn't it a shame? Isn't it a shame? We're supposed to be basing these teams off of the results on the field and the strength of schedule and the quality wins and all that BS. No, ultimately this comes down to the name brand. Who's the big brand? Who's got the money? Who's going to give us money? And who's going to boost ratings? That's ultimately what it comes down to. And obviously, a USC game against anybody is going to be way more appealing and sexy and you know, you're going to put the blinders on. It's going to look way better. USC versus anybody is going to look better than UNC versus anybody. Bottom line. Not that I think either are going to make the playoffs or anything, but bottom line, that is what it is. So great point, Anthony. Fantastic point. Once again, showing that the playoff committee. And I know you were a USC guy. I know you were an out west. And I don't want to bog down on USC. They're a good team. I still have them ranked in the top 15. I just don't think they're top 10 caliber. I know you and I have kind of agreed on that as well. So I have nothing against them. I just think what I do have something against is the playoff committee and how they operate. The inconsistency that is there. 100%. Great question and great point. And with that, guys, we will wrap things up. I think we will wrap things up. Anthony says Purdue's not underrated. They're just under. I know Connor won't like that. And Connor, I see what Eli said. I'm going to keep that in mind with your Bowl Mania theory. That's very good to know. Very good to know. But with that, guys, we will conclude this Gridiron Expert live stream. Unfortunately, I do have a couple things I got to knock out tonight. It's a crazy world, man. I'm telling you, we just got so much going on. I said, people, I know you guys have a lot going on. I know we've got a lot going on. But with you guys, I appreciate you every week popping in for these videos and popping in for these live streams and bringing us some fantastic discussion right here on the channel. Again, just want to give a major shout out to these expert picks. Again, over on the gridironexpert.com, link for that down in the description below. These picks, guys, again, we're 8 away from reaching our goal. It turns into a 24-hour live stream if we get those 8, and we're going to tell you if we get them. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers, whoever, to help us come win some money. You guys come win some money. Again, it's a year-long subscription. Keep that in mind. Year-long, 365 days. So you buy now, you get it late in the next year as well. So buy those expert picks, win some money with us, and help us get to that 24-hour live stream and reach our goal. I want to give some major shout-outs to Jack, to JJ, to Robert, to Connor. I appreciate you, my man. JJ, good to see you as well. I haven't seen your name in a while. Doggy, Jerry Turner, good to see you, man. Again, I appreciate you and all your support. Robert Sharpton, Sarah Brown, my man Anthony James, all the way out west. Eddie Rose, Eli, my big Liberty guy. Hope you were able to take down of UConn as well. Again, Sarah Brown, as we mentioned, Lord Cheddar, Aaron L., Ty Parsley, Doggy, I can't remember if I said your name or not. Go Vac Greatness, the big A&M guy. 2016 Cavaliers, Mike Myrick, Scotty B., the Baylor King, SBO Kennels, Mark T.R., Logan Elliott, David Cattell, all the way from Jacksonville. We appreciate you. South Tex, and everybody else that we may or may not have mentioned, but I do think that was about everybody here. We appreciate you, all of your support. Thank you for helping us grow. Stay tuned on the channel, guys. Check out the Discord for more updates. But tomorrow we have 2 prediction videos coming out. You're not going to want to miss either, not just because of the content, but also the fantastic thumbnails we have for them as well. So stay tuned for those. We're really excited about it. But until then, guys, continue to like, continue to comment, continue to subscribe, continue to help us grow the GE Nation right here on the channel. Have a great night, everybody.